The orbital colony of Vierlia Station hung like a jewel in the blackness of space. Its curved metal rings gleamed under the distant light of a nearby star. Ships drifted lazily in docking bays, and the hum of machinery was constant, a reminder that life in orbit never truly rested. For many, Vierlia was just another stop along the trade routes. But for Lady Serena Kale, it was a place to prove herself, to show the colonial guard that she belonged among the best of humanity. Serena moved swiftly through the corridors of the central hub, her uniform crisp, boots clicking against the polished metal floor. She carried herself with an air of authority, her sharp eyes scanning the screens and consoles lining the walls. Nothing escaped her notice, at least she liked to believe that. Down in the lower maintenance decks, Joran Malik worked silently. He was a mechanic, one of the many laborers responsible for keeping the station's systems running. His clothes were simple, his hands always smeared with grease. To most, he was invisible, a background figure in the station's complex machine of life. But he had a quiet intelligence, a patience that allowed him to see solutions others missed. Serena had walked past him countless times, never giving him more than a passing glance. To her, Joran was just another peasant, the sort who fumbled with wrenches and panels and rarely looked up from the ground. She couldn't know that he watched her as carefully as she watched the systems. It began as a routine inspection. Serena had been sent to verify that the station's defense arrays were fully operational. The orbital turrets had recently been upgraded, and the Colonial Guard wanted to ensure that all personnel were familiar with emergency protocols. Serena took pride in her efficiency. She would inspect, report, and leave, confident in her ability to manage anything that might arise. "Malik," she called down the narrow stairwell, her voice echoing. "Have you finished checking the stabilizers?" Instead, he finished tightening a screw, double-checked the wiring, and nodded once. Simple gestures, enough to acknowledge her, not enough to invite conversation. Serena frowned. Most people, even lower-ranked engineers, had the decency to respond with proper respect. She made a mental note to write a report. Joran's silence was irritating. As she moved on, the first signs of trouble appeared. Sensors along the outer rim of the station began to flash red. Aliens, small, insectoid drones had entered the system undetected. They swarmed toward the station at high speed, a blur of metallic limbs and glowing eyes. The alarms screamed, lights flashing violently, warning every officer on duty. Serena's heart raced, but she masked her fear with precision. She barked orders into her communicator. All defense turrets to readiness, security teams to decks 5 through 7, civilian personnel moved to emergency shelters. He moved toward the armory section, where the station's emergency blades, plasma weapons designed for close combat, were stored. Serena arrived in the command hub moments later, only to find chaos. Officers shouted into communicators, some running in panic. Screens displayed the approaching drones, small but lethal in numbers. The station's automated defenses were struggling, their targeting systems overwhelmed. "This is worse than I thought," Serena muttered, scanning the data. She realized that her carefully planned inspection had turned into a fight for survival. Her team was trained, yes, but they were being pushed to the limit. "Lady Serena," Joran said quietly as he entered the hub, carrying a plasma blade with careful attention. She looked at him in disbelief. "What are you doing?" Serena opened her mouth to protest, to tell him that only trained officers should handle weapons in combat, but the first drone crashed through the outer bay wall before she could speak. Joran was already moving. He swung the blade with precision, cutting through the drone's mechanical limbs. Sparks flew, and the drone crumpled to the floor. Her surprise turned quickly into disbelief. The movements were fluid, confident, almost too perfect for someone who had never received combat training, or so she assumed. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" she demanded, ducking under another strike from a drone. Joran's eyes did not leave the enemy's. "I know how to survive," he said, a simple answer that carried weight she couldn't yet understand. The battle escalated quickly. More drones entered, swarming the decks with terrifying speed. Serena realized that relying solely on automated systems was a mistake. Even the most advanced programming could not anticipate the unpredictability of a skilled human hand. And Joran's hand was extraordinary. He moved through the battlefield with a grace that seemed unnatural for someone in his position. Each swing of the plasma blade dismantled the drones, each step calculated to protect civilians and teammates alike. Serena felt a mixture of admiration and jealousy. Here was someone she had dismissed as a peasant, yet he was saving lives with ease. By the time the first wave of drones was repelled, the station was damaged but still operational. Officers and civilians alike were shaken, some injured but none lost. Serena finally allowed herself to breathe. She looked at Joran, who had returned the blade to its holster as if he had been practicing for this moment all his life. You saved them," she said softly, unable to hide the awe in her voice. He shrugged almost modestly. "I did what I had to do. We're not done, they'll come back." Someone who could change the course of this battle. As they moved toward the next threat, Serena kept her eyes on Joran. No longer just a peasant, he had proven himself capable in ways she had never imagined. And though she would not admit it aloud, a small part of her was beginning to hope. In the silence of the corridor, broken only by the distant alarms and the hum of life support systems, Serena realized something profound. Underestimating humanity was a mistake. Each person, no matter their station, could hold a strength unseen, waiting for the moment to reveal itself. And Joran, with his calm demeanor and deadly skill, had just begun to show the station what humans could truly do. The drones, shadows grew larger in the distance, and the battle for Violia Station was only beginning. The warning lights pulsed across Violia Station like the heartbeat of a living organism. Even after the first wave of drones had been repelled, the colony remained tense. Officers moved quickly between consoles, calling out to one another, while the occasional hum of machinery was punctuated by the occasional alarm. Civilians had been moved to emergency shelters, but fear still clung to the corridors like a thick fog. Serena Kale moved alongside Joran Malik as they checked each deck. Her mind raced, trying to anticipate the next attack. The first wave had been fast, but she knew the aliens would not give up so easily. They were patient, relentless, and adaptive. In every scenario she had studied, human ingenuity had been underestimated, and now she was beginning to understand just how much that underestimated strength could mean. "Do you think they will come back?" she asked, her voice quieter than usual. For the first time, Serena allowed herself to speak to someone who was not an officer, not a subordinate, not a civilian, someone equal in this moment in skill and courage. Joran did not immediately answer. He crouched over a maintenance panel, checking readings and power levels. Sparks flickered from one of the conduits, but he did not flinch. His movements were calm, precise, and deliberate. "They always do," he said finally, his eyes still on the panel. "The question is, are we ready?" She had trained for decades in tactics and command, yet here was a mechanic, someone she had dismissed as a peasant, speaking with confidence that she found grounding. The next wave arrived almost sooner than expected. Sensors detected alien drones moving through the docking bays, their movements faster and more coordinated than before. Sirens blared across the station, and automated turrets swung into position. But as before, sheer numbers threatened to overwhelm the defenses. "Everyone into position," Serena shouted. She and Joran moved together, heading toward the central corridor where the first contact would occur. This time she allowed herself a small measure of hope. Joran's skill with the plasma blade had changed the odds. Perhaps humanity still had surprises left to reveal. The drones descended like a swarm of metal hornets, cutting through the air with whirring limbs and glowing optics. Their shapes reflected the station's lights, creating a kaleidoscope of danger. Serena's team opened fire, but the aliens moved too quickly, dodging and weaving through the blasts. Joran did not hesitate. He drew the blade again, its plasma edge humming with energy. With movements that were both graceful and deadly, he leapt into the swarm. Sparks flew as the blade cut through drone after drone. He moved like a dancer, but each movement carried the precision of a soldier who had trained his whole life for this moment. Serena watched him closely, astonished. Every strike he made seemed effortless. He anticipated the drone's movements before they even acted. Even as officers beside her struggled to keep up, Joran maintained his calm, almost as if he were the center of a storm that threatened to consume everyone else. She called out commands, guiding her team through the chaos, but she also found herself adjusting her strategy around him. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a force on which the station could depend. As the battle raged, Serena's mind wandered to questions she had never asked. How had he learned to move like this? Why had he hidden his abilities for so long? And most importantly, could humanity rely on this hidden potential in the larger war to come? When the swarm finally receded, the station was battered but intact. Officers counted the losses. Civilians were shaken but safe. And Joran. He stood quietly, the blade still in his hands, surveying the damage with the same calm detachment he had shown from the start. Serena approached him, her uniform marked with soot and scratches. "I need to know," she said, her voice low. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" "It is not something most people are taught," he said. "I learned, long ago, in a place no longer remembered by most of humanity, that even when we were scattered across the stars, we could adapt, survive, and fight back against any threat. New signals, larger, more organized than the drones before. These were not small attack units. These were reconnaissance forces probing for weaknesses in the colony's defenses. Looks like they're testing us," Joran said calmly, already moving toward the next threat. "They want to see what humans can do." She had spent her life preparing for battles like this, but never with someone like Joran by her side. His presence shifted something inside her, a new understanding of what humans could accomplish when underestimated. They reached the observation deck where the largest wave of drones was forming. Through the reinforced glass, Serena could see the alien ships moving in tight formation, scanning the station with blue energy beams. This was more than a simple raid. It was a test. "We can't let them map our defenses," she said, determination hardening her voice. "If they find a weakness, they will come back with more. Then we make sure they don't." Serena watched him, realizing she had underestimated not only him but the sheer potential of humans to rise in moments of crisis. For hours, they fought together. Serena coordinated the officers, directing fire, issuing commands, and maintaining control of the station's systems. Joran moved through the battlefield with lethal efficiency, dismantling the drones and protecting civilians. They worked as one, a combination of strategy and instinct, intellect, and skill. During a brief lull, Serena finally allowed herself to speak freely. "I never realized humans could be this adaptable. Even when the odds are against us, we find a way." Officers followed Serena's commands, civilians found courage in the defense systems, and Joran led the front line with a precision that inspired everyone around him. The battle reached a turning point when the alien commander, a larger, more complex drone, appeared among the smaller attackers. It moved with intent, targeting specific sections of the station. Serena realized that this was not just a fight. It was an examination of humanity's will. Joran stepped forward. He did not hesitate. His movements were fluid, precise, and intentional. He faced the alien commander head-on, plasma blade in hand, ready to meet the challenge. Serena coordinated the defense systems around him, giving him support while he engaged the enemy directly. As they fought, Serena felt a growing admiration for Joran. Here was a man who had been dismissed by society, yet he carried the skill and courage to turn the tide of battle. Humanity, she realized, was capable of far more than rank and technology could reveal. Hours later, the drones finally retreated. The station was battered but functional. Officers and civilians alike looked to Joran with a mixture of awe and respect. Serena herself felt a deep shift inside her. "You've changed everything," she said softly, approaching him. "Not just this fight, but how we see ourselves, how we see humans. We survive, we fight, and sometimes we surprise even ourselves." The station's lights flickered as systems returned to normal, and for the first time that day, Serena allowed herself a small smile. They had survived. They had learned. And in the process, she had discovered a truth she would never forget. Never underestimate a human, no matter their station. The calm after the battle did not last long. Violia Station hummed with activity as engineers patched damage, officers reorganized defense teams, and civilians cautiously emerged from shelters. The first wave had been repelled, but the colony's leaders knew the aliens would return, stronger and smarter this time. The test was not over. Serena Kale walked through the central hub, her uniform streaked with soot and sweat. She felt an unusual weight on her shoulders, a mixture of responsibility, pride, and something else she could not yet name. Beside her, Joran Malik moved with quiet assurance, checking panels and ensuring that the station's systems functioned properly. He seemed at ease, as though the chaos of battle had been routine. She had watched him closely, and despite his calm exterior, she sensed there was more to him than she had seen so far. Something in his movements, in the way he assessed every threat, hinted at a past she could not yet understand. "Joran," she said quietly as they passed a row of blinking consoles. "Tell me, I need to know the truth. Who trained you? How did you learn to fight like that?" "I was trained by a group who studied the old techniques, the forgotten ways humans fought and survived. They believed humans could adapt to anything, even alien threats. All designed to allow humans to outthink and outfight even superior technology." New signals appeared on the scanners, larger, more organized formations moving toward the station. The aliens were sending reconnaissance ships, each one bristling with sensors and weaponry. They were probing for weaknesses, testing Viralia's defenses. "They've learned from their last attack," Joran said, his calm tone betraying no fear. "This is no longer a test of strength alone. They are measuring our response, studying how humans adapt. That we fight back in ways no one anticipates." Automated turrets opened fire, but many drones were agile enough to evade. Officers and security teams scrambled, trying to coordinate attacks and protect civilians. Joran drew his plasma blade and moved into the fray, his movements fluid and precise. Sparks flew as he met the drones head-on, each strike carefully calculated to neutralize threats without causing unnecessary damage to the station. Serena's eyes followed him, realizing that his skill was not only in combat, but in understanding the enemy. He anticipated, adapted, and acted before the aliens could react. She began coordinating with him more directly, giving orders while he led the front line. Their teamwork was natural, instinctive. For the first time, she saw what true human potential looked like: skill, intelligence, courage, and adaptability combined in one person. As the battle intensified, Joran's thoughts drifted briefly to the past. He remembered his training, the long hours of discipline, the lessons in patience and observation. He remembered the instructors who had taught him that humans could survive anything if they learned to trust their instincts and their minds. That knowledge had been kept secret for decades, but now it had a purpose. The aliens underestimated humans, and he intended to use that underestimation to their disadvantage. The largest drone emerged from the shadows, a more complex and dangerous model than any before. It moved deliberately, targeting critical systems of the station with precision. Officers scrambled to intercept it, but its speed and coordination made it nearly untouchable. Joran stepped forward, his blade humming. He faced the drone without hesitation, analyzing its patterns. Each strike he made disabled components, forcing the machine to adapt continuously. He moved with a rhythm that combined logic and instinct, anticipating the drone's every maneuver. Serena coordinated the defense turrets, covering Joran's flanks. Together, they became a force the aliens could not easily predict. Every movement, every decision was calculated. They adapted faster than the machines, faster than the aliens, faster than anyone expected. During a brief pause in the battle, Serena approached Joran. "I don't understand how you can stay so calm," she said, her voice low. "I've seen trained officers panic under pressure, and yet you seem untouchable." "Fear is natural, but it must be controlled. Panic is the enemy, focus is the ally." Humanity, she thought, was stronger than she had ever believed, not because of machines, but because of people like Joran, people who carried the strength of experience, intelligence, and courage. The drone shifted its approach, attempting a flanking maneuver. Joran anticipated it instantly, spinning and striking with his blade. Sparks flew, and the drone's limbs crumpled under his skill. Officers and soldiers cheered quietly, inspired by his precision and confidence. Serena felt a surge of pride, not just for Joran, but for humanity. Even in the face of alien technology, humans could adapt. Humans could fight. Humans could win. The battle continued, each wave bringing new challenges. Drones were faster, smarter, more coordinated, but Joran's presence changed everything. His ability to adapt, to anticipate, and to inspire those around him became the heart of Viralia Station's defense. Hours passed, and the alien commander, the largest drone yet, finally approached the station. It moved with intent, targeting critical systems and testing human responses. Serena realized that this was not just a fight for survival, it was a test of humanity's ingenuity. Joran met the commander head-on, his blade glowing as he analyzed the enemy's movements. Every strike was deliberate, every step calculated. He adjusted to the commander's attacks in real time, exploiting weaknesses while minimizing risk to the station. Serena coordinated the turrets and defense teams around him, creating a symphony of human strategy and skill. Together, they adapted faster than the aliens could anticipate, turning the tide of the battle once more. When the commander finally retreated, damaged and unable to continue, the station had survived. Officers and civilians alike looked at Joran with a mixture of awe and respect. Serena herself felt a deep shift inside her. "You've changed everything," she said softly. "Not just this battle, but how we see ourselves, how we see humans." Humanity was capable of greatness, not just through technology or numbers, but through intelligence, courage, and hidden potential. As the station returned to normal operations, Serena walked through the hub, watching officers and civilians work together, inspired by the events of the day. She knew the aliens would return. They would test humanity again. But now she was confident that humans were ready. Joran moved quietly through the corridors, checking systems and offering guidance where needed. He did not seek recognition or praise, only the satisfaction of seeing the station and its people survive. His training, his skills, and his philosophy had all found a purpose here. Serena watched him from a distance, realizing that the greatest strength of humanity was not in its weapons, not in its technology, but in its people. Each individual carried the potential to change the course of events, to rise above expectations, and to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. As night fell across Violia Station, the stars outside seemed brighter than ever. Serena knew this was only the beginning. The aliens had tested humanity, but the humans had passed, and in ways the attackers could never have predicted. With Joran by her side, she felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity would survive, humanity would fight, and when the time came, humanity would rise to its full potential. And in the quiet moments between battles, Serena found herself wondering just how much of humanity's hidden strength Joran could reveal, and what other secrets he might carry, waiting for the moment to be unleashed. The alarm lights of Violia Station pulsed like warning beacons across the corridors, signaling the arrival of the largest alien fleet yet. The distant hum of engines filled the station, and even from the central hub, the size of the incoming force was clear. These were not just reconnaissance drones, they were full assault units, organized and coordinated. The aliens had learned from previous attacks, and this time they intended to test humanity's limits. Serena Kale stood at the observation deck, her hands gripping the railing as she watched the alien ships approach. Officers around her barked orders, coordinating defensive turrets and security teams, while civilians were once again guided to shelters. The tension was palpable, but Serena felt a strange calm settle over her. She had Joran Malik by her side, and his presence was a reassurance she could not explain. "He's here," a technician whispered, pointing to the largest ship among the formation. Its hull was dark, angular, and bristling with weapons. Energy shields glowed faintly along its edges. This was the alien commander, the central force directing the assault. It had been observed before, but never so close. Its intelligence and precision had made it the deadliest opponent the colony had faced so far. Serena turned to Joran, who was inspecting a plasma blade in his hands. His calm gaze met hers. "It's time," he said simply. "We have been preparing for this. Now we act." Strategy, adaptability, and human skill would be the deciding factors. Joran moved to the central corridor, plasma blade in hand, ready to engage. Officers and soldiers followed, inspired by his confidence. For the first time, the people of Violia Station felt that the odds could be in their favor, not because they had the best technology, but because they had something the aliens did not: unpredictable human ingenuity. The first wave of drones attacked the outer perimeter of the station, acting as a distraction while the commander's ship probed defenses. Sparks flew and alarms blared as the drones clashed with turrets and soldiers. Joran leapt into action, his movements precise and fluid. Every strike of his blade dismantled drones before they could reach critical systems. He moved like a conductor of battle, orchestrating defense with skill that seemed almost superhuman. Serena coordinated the turrets, guiding fire toward larger threats while leaving the smaller enemies to Joran. Together, they created a synergy that the aliens could not anticipate. The station's defense teams responded faster and more effectively, inspired by the example of one human who had risen above expectations. Hours into the fight, the alien commander finally deployed its full force, sending a specialized drone directly into the station. It was larger, faster, and more heavily armed than any Joran had faced. Officers opened fire, but the weaponry barely slowed it down. The drone moved with intent, striking at the heart of the station's main energy conduit. If it succeeded, the station would lose power and humanity's defenses would collapse. Joran stepped forward without hesitation. He analyzed the drone's movements, calculating every strike and counter. His plasma blade hummed as he lunged, meeting the drone with precision. Sparks erupted from each impact, lighting the corridor like miniature lightning storms. Every motion was deliberate, a combination of training, instinct, and intuition honed over years that most would never understand. Serena watched, awe and tension intertwined. She had trained for decades, but even she could not match the precision and adaptability of Joran. Officers followed his lead, adjusting their positions, using the environment and targeting weak points identified by his movements. Humanity's strength was revealed not in technology, but in intelligence and courage. The drone adapted, striking from angles Joran had not expected. But he anticipated quickly, spinning and pivoting with a rhythm that turned defense into attack. The plasma blade sliced through its armor, disabling critical systems. The drone faltered, sparks flying from exposed circuits, and retreated momentarily. "Keep going," Serena shouted to the officers. "Watch him, follow his lead." Soldiers and officers moved with confidence, trusting their instincts and the example set by someone they had once underestimated. Every strike of his blade became a lesson in strategy, improvisation, and resilience. Humanity was showing the aliens that their calculations had underestimated the unpredictable element, the human spirit. The alien commander's main ship hovered outside the observation window, sending pulses of energy that threatened the station's shields. It began to deploy more drones, each larger and more dangerous than the last. Serena realized that if they could not stop the commander directly, the station would eventually fall. Joran turned, assessing the situation. "I need to get to the command deck," he said. "If I can reach the main control interface, I can disable the docking systems and force them to retreat." Officers coordinated attacks based on his movements, creating openings and traps that the aliens did not anticipate. Every step Joran took became a teaching moment, revealing the hidden potential of human ingenuity. At the command deck, the alien drone advanced, striking at the doors with destructive force. Joran met it head-on, plasma blade humming as he deflected attacks and countered with precision strikes. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and energy flares lit the room. He analyzed its movements in real time, adjusting strategy instantly to exploit weaknesses in the drone's design. Serena coordinated the turrets from the observation deck, timing energy blasts to coincide with Joran's attacks. Civilians and soldiers worked together to reinforce barricades and control panels. The station, though battered, became a single organism, human intelligence and skill integrated with technology to resist the alien threat. The battle reached a critical point. The alien drone surged forward, attempting a final strike on the station's main energy core. Joran leapt, spinning through the air with the grace of someone who had trained for this exact moment. His plasma blade struck the drone at a precise angle, severing its core control circuits. Sparks exploded in a brilliant display, and the drone crashed to the floor, incapacitated. The alien commander, observing its subordinate's failure, adjusted strategy, moving its main ship closer to the station. Its energy shields pulsed, readying for a concentrated attack. But Joran had anticipated this. He sprinted to the main control console, overriding the docking clamps and initiating an emergency repulsion sequence. The ship was forced back, unable to maintain its position, and the commander retreated temporarily, regrouping its forces. Serena allowed herself a deep breath, finally feeling relief wash over her. The immediate threat was over. The station was intact, officers and civilians were safe, and humanity had proven something vital. Even when outnumbered and outgunned, humans could adapt, fight, and survive. Joran sheathed his blade, standing amidst the scorched corridor. Officers approached him, eyes wide with admiration and respect. For the first time, the full weight of his skill, training, and philosophy became clear to everyone present. This was a human who could change the outcome of battles that seemed impossible. Serena approached him, exhaustion and pride evident in her expression. "You've done more than save the station," she said quietly. "You've shown us what humanity is truly capable of." Strategy, courage, adaptability, and intelligence had combined to overcome what the aliens thought was superior power. Humanity had proved its worth, not through raw firepower alone, but through the ingenuity and spirit of its people. Serena studied Joran, realizing that she had been wrong to underestimate him. His presence had turned fear into action, despair into hope. Humans, she understood, were not just survivors. They were innovators, fighters, and thinkers. The galaxy might one day underestimate them again, but she knew they would always rise to the challenge. The battle had ended, but the war was far from over. Aliens would return and new threats would emerge. Yet Violia Station had survived, stronger than before, and humanity had discovered a hidden strength. Joran had awakened the potential that had been forgotten in the galaxy, reminding everyone that human skill, intelligence, and courage could never be fully measured or predicted. As the station's lights stabilized and systems returned to normal, Serena looked out at the stars. Somewhere among them, the alien commander was regrouping, preparing for the next test. But she no longer feared what was to come. Humanity had proven itself, and with people like Joran leading by example, they would face any challenge and endure. And in the quiet after the storm, Serena made a promise to herself. She would not underestimate anyone again. She would recognize the strength in every human, every person, no matter their rank or background. For the galaxy was vast, filled with unknown dangers, and humanity's survival depended not on fear or pride, but on courage, adaptability, and the unwavering potential hidden in ordinary people. The dawn of a new day over Violia Station brought an unusual calm. The alarms had ceased, the corridors no longer buzzed with urgent commands, and the hum of machinery returned to its steady rhythm. Outside the reinforced windows, the stars glimmered as if nothing had happened, yet inside the station, every corner bore the marks of the recent battle. Panels were scorched, hull plating dented, and scorch marks lined the corridors. But for all its damage, the station stood proud, a testament to the resilience and courage of those who defended it. Serena Kale walked through the main hub, her boots echoing softly against the metal floors. Officers and engineers worked side by side, repairing systems and recalibrating controls. Civilians emerged cautiously from shelters, their faces showing relief and wonder. They had witnessed humanity's strength firsthand, and a new sense of hope began to take root. Joran Malik moved quietly among them, offering guidance, inspecting repairs, and ensuring the station's defenses were fully operational. Despite the chaos he had endured, his expression remained calm, focused, and composed. He did not seek recognition or praise. To him, survival, preparation, and the protection of others were all that mattered. Serena approached him, her mind heavy with thoughts. The battle had changed more than the station. It had changed her understanding of humanity. She had always believed in rank, training, and technology as the pillars of survival, yet Joran had shown her something far greater, the unpredictable ingenuity, courage, and adaptability of humans themselves. "You've done more than save the station," she said softly, standing beside him. "You've shown everyone what humans are truly capable of." "Humans always find a way," he replied. "We adapt, we survive, and sometimes we discover strength we didn't know we had." Humanity, she realized, was far more than the sum of its parts. The station's leadership convened a meeting in the central command hub. Officials, engineers, and security officers gathered around the long table, exchanging reports, sharing updates, and discussing repairs. The energy was tense but purposeful. The battle had been won, but Violia Station could not afford to relax. Serena took her place at the head of the table. "We survived because we adapted," she said. "Because we did not rely solely on our machines, our shields, or our weapons. We relied on people. And today, people proved that no technology can replace the ingenuity and courage of a human mind." The officers and engineers nodded in agreement, understanding the depth of her words. Among them, the story of Joran's skill had spread quickly. No longer just a mechanic, he had become a symbol of hope and inspiration, a reminder that even those underestimated could hold the key to survival. Joran remained near the back, quietly observing. He did not speak, but his presence carried weight. The station had seen his ability, and it had left a lasting impression. Officers who had doubted him, civilians who had feared for their lives, and even Serena herself had witnessed a human's full potential revealed in the crucible of battle. As the meeting concluded, Serena stepped aside, motioning for Joran to join her. "You should stand with me," she said. "Everyone deserves to know who helped us survive. You've earned that recognition. And you've shown it in the brightest light. Stand with me, Joran. Let everyone see what a human can do." A reminder that even in the darkest moments, humans could rise above fear and uncertainty. Days passed as Violia Station repaired and reorganized. Systems were restored, hull plating replaced, and turrets recalibrated. Yet the spirit of the people had changed more than the physical station. Confidence, courage, and determination now pulsed through every corridor. People spoke with newfound respect for one another, understanding that every individual could make a difference in the survival of the station. Serena worked closely with Joran during this time, coordinating defenses and preparing for potential future attacks. She studied his methods, his quick thinking, and his ability to anticipate threats. Each day, she learned more about what it meant to truly respect the potential of a human being. "You see the strength in people now," Joran said one evening as they walked through the observation deck, watching the stars shimmer beyond the reinforced glass. "Most underestimate humans. They think technology, rank, and numbers decide the outcome. But it is the mind, the courage, the ability to adapt that makes all the difference. And we endure." One morning, as the station's sunlit panels glimmered, Serena and Joran stood together in the central hub. Civilians moved about freely, officers oversaw repairs, and engineers fine-tuned the systems. The station had returned to life, stronger and more resilient than ever before. "Look at them," Serena said softly, watching a group of engineers laugh quietly as they repaired a damaged console. "They believe in themselves now. They know what they are capable of." And now, the people of Violia Station carried that strength forward, ready to face whatever challenges awaited in the vastness of space. In the following weeks, stories of the battle spread across other human colonies. Officers and civilians alike recounted the bravery, skill, and ingenuity displayed by the people of Violia Station. And at the center of those stories was Joran Malik, a reminder that even the most overlooked individuals could hold the key to survival, and that human courage and intelligence were forces the galaxy could never fully predict. Serena watched him one final time from the observation deck. He was repairing a console, quietly ensuring the station's defenses were ready. He did not look for applause or recognition, yet everyone around him knew what he had done. His skill, his courage, and his philosophy had changed the station forever. "You've given them hope," she said softly, addressing him more than speaking aloud. "You've shown everyone that humans are capable of more than they believe." "Hope is the most powerful weapon humans have," he said. "It drives us, unites us, and reminds us that we can endure anything." Humanity had survived against impossible odds, and they had learned something invaluable, that courage, intelligence, and determination were stronger than any weapon, shield, or machine. As night fell across Violia Station, the stars shone brighter than ever. The galaxy beyond remained full of dangers, unknown and vast. Yet inside the station, humanity had discovered a new truth. Even the smallest, most overlooked individuals could rise to greatness. Serena stood beside Joran, watching the lights of the station twinkle, and knew that whatever the future held, humans would endure. They would adapt, they would fight, and they would rise stronger than ever before. And somewhere in the depths of space, the aliens might be regrouping, planning their next test. But the people of Violia Station were ready. Humanity had awakened, and no one, no matter how powerful or advanced, could underestimate them again. Joran turned, glancing briefly at Serena. "They'll learn soon enough," he said quietly. "Humans are always full of surprises." "Yes," she replied, "and we'll be ready."